This is Late Night Health. This is the radio show that cares about the most important part of your life, your health. Hi, I'm Mark Alyn, and along with the insane Daryl Wayne, we're going to present some ideas and topics during the next 2 hours that touch each and every one of us, from exercising after the age of 50 in a dojo, learning karate and all that Karate Kid stuff. Maybe it's the Karate Senior, I'm not sure, to finding out more about plant-based medicine. We're going to be exploring a new foundation that is educating the public about brain aneurysms. We'll be talking about stopping smoking in the gay, lesbian, transgender community, and we'll also spend some time with our good friend Robert Clancy as we wrap up our show today. All righty. How are you, Daryl?
I am fine and dandy.
Fine and dandy, and we have Josh Lane, who's a host and in our studio today, and he'll hang out a little bit too. Hey, Josh.
Hi, Mark.
Let's go to Brian Herkowitz, and I hope I got that right. Brian,
Very close.
All right. Is it
Herkowitz?
Herkowitz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close.
All right. You're Brian.
I'll give you a pass on.
All right. Thank you. Brian, amongst other things, he's a producer. He's a screenwriter. He teaches screenwriting, but he also teaches karate, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and other martial arts. And he's over 50 years old, and he still competes. By the way, do you compete against younger guys?
I do, actually. I'm a glutton for punishment, and I still compete against the guys who are 20 years old, 19, 20, 21.
And you wipe them all over the place.
Yeah. On rare occasions, I wipe them all over the place.
Gotcha.
But I'm still competitive. I'm not on the national, international level that I used to be. My sport, personally, I do have a black belt in karate, but my competition is in judo and jiu jitsu. So
what's the difference?
Well, they're each unique martial arts. Judo and jiu jitsu actually have the same foundation. They both came from a Japanese style of jiu jitsu and evolved into first judo, and then from that into Brazilian jiu jitsu.
How did it go from Japan to Brazil?
Well, the history of it's kind of interesting. There was a gentleman who was brought over from Japan to be one of a contingent of instructors. This is in the early 1920s, of instructors at West Point in martial arts, and that was Roosevelt actually invited them over. He was a student of the man who created judo, a guy named Jigoro Kano, and that was an offshoot of Japanese jiu-jitsu. One of the students was a gentleman by the name of Maeda. Maeda ended up in New York, started a career in tough man competition. He was about 140 pounds, 145 pounds. 1,000 matches, never lost.
Oh, my.
He ended up going from New York to Cuba to and then to Brazil, rather. Ended up in Brazil, taught a guy named Carlos Gracie, who was the patriarch of the Gracie Studios in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that's really the origins of and how Jiu-Jitsu became judo, judo became Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, are martial arts, would that be a good thing for Daryl and me? You've been doing boxing. You've done boxing.
I have.
Right.
And also, Sao Paulo has the largest concentration of Japanese aside from Tokyo.
Right.
Wow.
I'm not sure why that is, but they did have a very large influx of Japanese influence. In fact, some of the in the early 1970s, some of the top judo competitors in the world were coming out of Brazil, and the modern era of mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was really started by this Gracie studio of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's where the UFC came from. That's what it was born out of. So that's where it came from. But in terms of being an older person who is starting to get into the martial arts, I think first and foremost you want to have a foundation for good health. And one of the things that I see as people age is life intrudes, children intrude, business intrudes, and we all find ourselves with less and less time to take care of our health. And anytime you have any kind of discipline, in a physical discipline, whether it's judo, whether it's karate, whether it's boxing, where you get up and you move, and you're doing it on a regular basis, I think you improve the foundation for your health.
Your partner in the horror equity fund, Marlon,
yes,
told me the other day he lost 30 pounds with working out.
Yeah, I'll pat myself on the back a little bit just because I think I was a positive influence on him. The fact that he was seeing me in the gym, working out on a fairly regular basis, and that I was in pretty good shape and still able to kind of hang with the youngsters at my ripe old age. I think that helped inspire him to say, I've got to take care of my health.
And now he's going to go into tap dancing.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, he is. That's true. He's
Right.
got his own little tap dance floor, and he's ready to.
He takes classes.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a dancer, but the music stops at my waist.
Here's the thing: you find it's never too late.
Got it. Is that true with martial arts? I mean, can people? I mean, they have to have a certain amount of dexterity, and they have to be able to walk, I suppose.
Walking helps. Definitely
Right.
helps. I will tell you that there are now masters in different disciplines. And masters being anybody that starts at 35 on up. And there are in judo. And judo, honestly, is one of the more physically demanding in terms of the risks to your body, because there are a lot of throws. So it's a very heavy contact sport. And when you start getting up to 60, 70, 80, you do become more fragile. However, if you start early enough and you continue to work at it, you're kind of injury-proofing yourself to a certain degree, although there are certain risks that come with the sport itself, because it is martial art, and it is something that's interactive. It's not like, the one thing about karate is you can do katas and forms and never have to touch another person. In judo and jiu-jitsu, that's not the case. And jiu-jitsu is a little less taxing on the body. You don't have quite the same contact and intense contact that you do in judo. But in both cases, I just came from the World Jiu-Jitsu Championships about a month ago.
How'd you do?
I took bronze. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. But the competitors that were there, I was one of the older competitors. They go up to 65, maybe even 70 years old.
But you were 6 or 8.
I was 6 years old when I started, competed, growing up, state champion of Texas when I was 8, and then continued to compete. Had some health issues when I was very young, ended up in a wheelchair bound for about a year, came back from that, competed on a national level, and eventually made it to the Olympic trials in 1980. That was the year that we decided to not go. It was the year that everybody went. That was in Moscow, and we were having issues with the Russians.
But you've competed in the 1980 U.S. Collegiate Championships,
Yep.
The 1985 World Maccabea Games.
Yep.
That was in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You studied in Japan.
I did.
Is this? I mean, you're a screenwriter and a producer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your
That's my day job.
Your day job.
Yeah.
But you teach at night?
No, I have one day a week at the Hollywood Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Dojo. I teach their judo class. And that's, again, because they're similar sports, that they're similar foundation and different rules. And the jiu-jitsu guys can really benefit from a judo education, and judo guys can really benefit from a jiu-jitsu education. There's a nice crossover there.
Are you teaching adults or are you teaching kids?
I teach adults.
Adults.
I don't have anything against kids, just don't have any kids that I'm teaching.
Gotcha. And did you teach your own kids how to do this?
A little bit. I have 2 daughters. One studied karate and got her black belt, and of course, not to be outdone, I decided, well, I'm going to get my black belt too. So I was her underling in karate for a while. The other one, they both took a little bit of judo from me, but it was something that just wasn't in the cards for them. They both wanted to be dancers and singers and actors, so they went off to do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And of course, Dad could put him in his own movies.
Exactly.
Right. Brian Herkowitz is our guest. We're talking about exercising after the age of 50 and using karate as well as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a form of exercise. When I think of karate, I think of the Karate Kid.
Well, let me just kind of, because again, although I do have a black belt in karate, judo and jiu-jitsu are really my first sport and love.
Got it.
So, and let me just tell you a little bit about the difference. So that
sure,
the karate is fundamentally a striking art. So it's punches and kicks, and that's in that way you are defending yourself against an opponent. In judo, and Jiu Jitsu, they're grappling sports. Judo's foundation comes from the ability to take an opponent using your movement, or their movement actually, to your advantage, taking them to the ground, where you then can submit them either with a choke, an armbar, or a pin.
So it's more like wrestling.
It is grappling, yeah. Almost exactly like grappling. It's a type of grappling. And then in Jiu-Jitsu, there is less emphasis on getting your opponent, forcing your opponent to the ground. It's more about what happens after you're on the ground. So then it's much more focused on the grappling, the arm bars, chokes, leg bars they had in Jiu-Jitsu, toe bars, things like that, things that are submission techniques. And all of these were arts that were designed to help a person take care of themselves in battle, in combat.
Our Mr. Miyagi, the insane Daryl Wayne, has started the music. We have to take a time out to do some business. We'll be back with Brian Herkowitz. What's the name of your book?
It's Process to Product, a practical guide for the screenwriter.
So he does everything, guys. And if you don't write the way he wants you to, I guess he beats you up.
I would definitely come over to your house.
Yes, exactly, and get it right.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Mr. Miyagi, Daryl, and I, and Daryl and Josh Lane return along with Brian. As Late Night Health continues, we invite you to join us on Facebook.com/LateNightHealth and, of course, LateNightHealth.com. Don't go away. Much more coming up.
If you or someone you love suffers from drug addiction, now is the time to utilize your private health insurance PPO plan. If eligible, receive up to $30,000 or more in substance abuse benefits with low or no out-of-pocket cost. We are the National Treatment Network, the premier drug and alcohol treatment referral service operating 24/7. We help connect you with facilities nationwide that accepts PPO private health insurance for substance abuse. If you have PPO substance abuse coverage and you need immediate admittance to a medical detox or residential rehab treatment center, call us now. Call our live referral helpline today. The call is free. This program is not available to Medicare or Medicaid customers.
Call 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. That's 800-296-1252.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate a lower tax bill. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will fight for you using industry secrets that can stop any IRS actions, eliminate penalties and interest, and reduce your past tax bill so you pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor now for a free IRS audit emergency review.
800-663-5107. 800-663-5107. 800-663-5107. That's 800-663-5107.